Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 8, Book 75, number 343. Narrated by Salama bin al-Aqwa. We went out with the Prophet to Khaybar. A man among the people said, "O Amir, will you please recite to us some of your poetic verses?" So, Amir got down and started chanting among them, saying, "By Allah! Had it not been for Allah, we would not have been guided." Amir also said other poetic verses which I do not remember. Allah's apostle said, "Who is this camel driver?" The people said, "He is Amir bin al-Aqwa." He said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him." A man from the people said, "O Allah's apostle, would that you let us enjoy his company longer." When the people, Muslims, lined up, the battle started, and Amir was struck with his own sword, by chance, by himself and died. In the evening, the people made a large number of fires, for cooking meals. Allah's apostle said, "What is this fire? What are you making the fire for?" They said, "For cooking the meat of donkeys." He said, "Throw away what is in the pots and break the pots." A man said, "O Allah's Prophet, may we throw away what is in them and wash them?" He said, "Never mind, you may do so." See Hadith number 509, Volume 5. Volume 8, Book 75, number 344. Narrated by Ibn Abi Awfa. Whenever a man brought his alms to the Prophet would say, "O Allah, bestow your blessing upon the family of so-and-so." When my father came to him, with his alms, he said, "O Allah, bestow your blessings upon the family of Abi Awfa." Volume 8, Book 75, number 345. Narrated by Jarrah. Allah's apostle said to me, "Will you relieve me from Dhi al-Khalasa?" Dhi al-Khalasa was an idol which the people used to worship, and it was called al-Kabar al-Yamaniya. I said, "O Allah's apostle, I am a man who can't sit firm on horses." So he stroked my chest with his hand, and said, "O Allah, make him firm and make him a guiding and well-guided man." So I went out with 50 men from my tribe of Anas. The sub-narrator, Sufyan, quoting Jarrah, perhaps said, "I went out with a group of men from my nation, and came to Dhi al-Khalasa and burnt it, and then came to the Prophet and said, O Allah's apostle, I have not come to you till I left it like a camel with a skin disease." The Prophet then invoked good upon armors and their cavalry, fighters. Volume 8, Book 75, number 346. Narrated by Anas. Sulaim said to the Prophet, "Anas is your servant." The Prophet said, "O Allah, increase his wealth and offspring, and bless, for him, whatever you give him." Volume 8, Book 75, number 347. Narrated by Aisha. The Prophet heard a man reciting the Quran in the mosque. He said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him, as he made me remember such and such verse which I had missed in such and such surah." Volume 8, Book 75, number 348. Narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet divided something among the Muslims, and distributed the shares of the booty. A man said, "This division has not been made to please Allah." When I informed the Prophet about it, he became so furious that I noticed the signs of anger on his face, and he then said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on Moses, for he was hurt with more than this." yet he remained patient. Volume 8, Book 75, number 349. Narrated by Ikrimah. Ibn Abbas said, "Preach to the people once a week, and if you won't, then preach them twice. But if you want to preach more, then let it be 3 times, a week only, and do not make the people fed up with this Quran." If you come to some people who are engaged in a talk, don't start interrupting their talk by preaching, lest you should cause them to be bored. You should rather keep quiet, and if they ask you, then preach to them at the time when they're eager to hear what you say. And avoid the use of rhymed prose in invocation, for I notice that Allah's apostle and his companions always avoided it. Volume 8, Book 75, number 350. Narrated by Anas. Allah's apostle said, "When any one of you appeal to Allah for something, he should ask with determination and should not say, 'O Allah, if you wish, give me.' For nobody can force Allah to do something against his will." Volume 8, Book 75, number 351. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, "None of you should say, 'O Allah, forgive me if you wish. O Allah, be merciful to me if you wish,' but he should always appeal to Allah with determination, for nobody can force Allah to do something against his will." Volume 8, Book 75, number 352. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, "The invocation of any one of you is granted, by Allah, if he does not show impatience, by saying, 'I invoked Allah but my request has not been granted.'" Volume 8, Book 75, number 353. Narrated by Anas. While the Prophet was delivering a sermon on a Friday, a man stood up and said, "O Allah's apostle, invoke Allah to bless us with rain." The Prophet invoked Allah for rain. So, the sky became overcast and it started raining till one could hardly reach one's home. It kept on raining till the next Friday, when the same man or another man got up and said to the Prophet, "Invoke Allah to withhold the rain from us, for we have been drowned with heavy rain." The Prophet said, "O Allah, let it rain around us and not on us." Then the clouds started dispersing around Medina and rain ceased to fall on the people of Medina. Volume 8, Book 75, number 354. Narrated by Abdullah bin Zaid. Allah's apostle went out to this masala, praying place, to offer the prayer of istisqa. He invoked Allah for rain and then faced the Qibla and turned his reader upper garment inside out. Volume 8, Book 75, number 355. Narrated by Anas. My mother said, "O Allah's apostle, please invoke Allah on behalf of your servant." He said, "O Allah, increase his wealth and children, and bestow your blessing on whatever you give him. A time of distress." Volume 8, Book 75, number 356. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet used to invoke Allah at the time of distress, saying, "La ilaha illallahu al-azim, al-halim, la ilaha illallahu Rabbu es-samawati wal ard wa Rabbu el-arsh il-azim." Volume 8, Book 75, number 357. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. Allah's apostle used to say at a time of distress, "La ilaha illallahu Rabbul el-arsh il-azim, La ilaha illallahu Rabbu es samawati wa Rabbu el-ard, Rabbu el-arsh il-kareem. Volume 8, Book 75, number 358. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle used to seek refuge with Allah from the difficult moment of a calamity and from being overtaken by destruction and from being destined to an evil end, and from the malicious joy of enemies. Sufyan said, "This narration contained 3 items only, but I added one. I do not know which one that was."